Okay, in this video tutorial, we are going to I am going to take a photograph, and I'll go ahead and open up a photograph here. I've got a photograph of a scene here, a street scene. I'm just going to drag it right onto Photoshop down here. And so it opens up in Photoshop. That's a quick way to open things up. You could right-click on a photo and say Open with Photoshop. You can drag it down to your dock. If you've got a Mac, a PC, you couldn't do that as easy. You can just right-click on it and open with Photoshop. Or you can go to Photoshop and hit File and open up what you want to open. Now here's a photo of a street scene. Now you take a look at the lighting in this scene, and the shadows are basically not there much because it doesn't have very much sunlight. If anything, there's no sunlight. Maybe it's in the morning or there's overcast, and so we've got just some nice ambient light coming down, skylight we call it as photographers, just some nice skylight, no direct sunlight. So what you want to do is we want to learn to make and take photos from other photos and place it into a different photo so it looks real. So what we're doing is we're creating a photo montage. A montage is one photograph that has other photos placed into it, and it all looks like it was really taken with all of those items in it. So what we want to do is we want to find photos of things that have the same similar lighting. So I've got another photograph here. I'm just going to drag down to Photoshop here. And here's a photo with a bus and motorcycle and some other things in a car. I'm going to take this car here and I'm going to place this car in this scene here because the lighting's very similar. This is kind of an overcast day. The shadows are just straight down, so it looks about the same type of lighting. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to bring this car up a little bit bigger on my screen so I can see it better. So I'm going to take my zoom tool and zoom up a few times so I get the car closer to me here and so I can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to use a tool called the mask. The mask tool's right here. I'm going to click on that mask tool and then go to my paintbrush. And then I'm going to pick a nice hard brush right here. Just double click on that, a nice hard brush. Now to make your brush sizes bigger, just use your bracket keys. And we're going to paint that car. When we start painting it, you'll see a pink with a lower opacity color. And I'm just painting on the car, not to go outside of the car edges. So I'm going to hit that tire there and run around here. Now, when I do this finer detail, I'll make my brush smaller, but for right now, I'm just keeping it kind of big just to hit generally around this vehicle. It's kind of easy then to hit the tires and most of this vehicle. Okay? And then when I get closer to the edge, I'm going to make a smaller brush here in just a minute. But I can get a lot of it just with this big, nice, big brush here. And if I go outside the lines, I can fix that with the eraser. So the paintbrush is going to be painting on the mask. So I'm just going to paint right down here on the cars. You can get it pretty quick. The car is pretty simple. If it's something more detailed like a tree, it'd be more difficult. Okay, and those places that I made mistakes here, I'm going to go to the roof rack on that car. If I go outside, I'll go outside by accident. Oops, So I take my eraser and then erase those areas back off of the mask. And I got the mirror there, and I want to get the mirror on this, so I've got to go do a little bit. Nope, I've got a little mistake. There's not too easy drawing with a brick in your hand. That's what a lot of graphic artists say, drawing with a mouse. It'd be better if you had a Wacom tablet or something to do this. And then make a smaller brush and do the fine detail. Okay, when you feel pretty good about it and you got most of the vehicle there, then what you do, I've got a few mistakes down here. I'm just going to take my eraser real quick. A nice hard eraser. I'm going to soften that just a little bit on the hardness of this eraser. And then I'm just going to go and just erase around the places that I got a little bit too over detailed there. Okay, now you just go back to your mask here and just turn it back off, and you'll have the marching ants going around it. But really, the marching ants are going around the entire photo. You think you got just the car, but actually the entire photo, if I look at this thing, it's really got it all the way around, not just the car. So I painted the car, but really everything else is selected, not the car. I want the car selected only, so I go to select at the top and inverse. Now the car is just selected. Then I take the side here, I take my move tool to move it and clip. Look at the little scissors there. Okay, you got little scissors that show up. Okay, here we go. Now the car is on this road. Now, also looks like a toy car. It doesn't really look very correct, all right? And I've taken the shadow out. I'm going to add a shadow in just a minute here. Okay, but I want to reverse this car so it's going down the street this way, all right? And luckily, this is in Europe, so I can't tell the license plate too much, but later I could switch that license plate around because if I make this bigger, now how to make it bigger? Of course, Command-T. Command-T, hold down Shift, so it constrains it. If you don't, you squish and squash this car, okay? Flip it over, whatever, okay? Okay, yeah, we can flip it over and go down the other side of the street. But if I hold down Shift, it constrains my proportion. And what you want to do is work with perspective here. So yeah, the car could be sitting like this, and we can click and drag it, you know, and whatever, to rotate it outside the box. But it could be sitting outside, you know, like it's on the wrong side of the road or whatever. But if you wanted to go the other way, just right-click on it and say Flip Horizontally. And the car flips. Now, what you want to do is, if you place it up here, it looks like this toy car. It's too small. Place it down here, it looks like this monstrous car down the road. So what you want to do is try to visually make it look correct. So we'll put it here like it's parked right next to the road right here. And again, if you hold down Shift and drag on a corner. Now, if you drag here and hold down Shift, it doesn't do anything. It just squishes and squashes the car. Command-Z to go back in time, or Control-Z on a PC. So hold down Shift, and you can make the car bigger, and then, of course, pull it back further. It just depends on what you're wanting here. Now, I'm going to place it about right, like this, and decide about where I want it, like the car is sitting off the side of the road right there. And then hit the check mark to finish that off, or Enter. All right. Now, the car feels to me like it's floating. And so, you know, I got it where I want it, but it feels like it's floating because there's no shadows. I need some shadows here. Oh, another thing is, I probably shouldn't have done this so quickly. Let me show you something. As I bring this up bigger on my screen here, okay, and I can take the zoom tool and do this, or what's cool about a Mac is on the move tool, you can hold down Alt on a PC, Option on a Mac, and just scroll up or down on your mouse, and it scrolls the picture bigger and smaller. Or again, you can take the zoom tool, it does the same thing. You can go bigger, 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 or hold down Option or Alt and then go smaller, smaller, smaller. I just like to take Option, scroll up and down. It does the same thing about any tool. All right. The problem is when I bring up here, it's so sharp that it doesn't look real. Like around the tires, it's just too sharp around those cuts. Okay. So what I want to do is, I'm going to go ahead and delete that. Now, if you look at your layers palette, okay, I'm looking at my layers palette here with that car there. See how the car is on its own layer? Okay. And then the background. That's good, okay? But I'm going to delete that layer here. I'm just going to just click on it, hit delete, okay? And I'm going to go one more time back to my vehicle here. And before I go cut it and take it over there, I'm going to make it and feather and smooth this edge here. So how you do that, after you get it all clipped and you're ready to cut it out, like I go cut it out, and here we go. But before we do that, I hit Command-Z to go back in time. Before we cut it out, let's go to Select and Modify. And I'm going to go here, and I can go and expand, which will take this selection out a little bit, or I can contract, which will bring it in a little bit, but I can feather it. And I'm going to go in and feather it, I'm going to feather it just 2 pixels. So now it's softened my cut. So when I take my Move tool and move it on, it's going to be a little bit softer. Now, because this isn't a very high-resolution photo, it made it a little bit too soft. So 2 pixels was too soft in this. So again, go back in time, Command Option Z, okay, or Control Alt Z on a PC. I'm going to go back to this and go back in time as well on this one, okay, and I'm going to go back and feather that. So select, modify, and feather it just 1 pixel. I could even do it a 0.5 pixel, so just a little bit. So now it's a little bit softer. All right, and you have to kind of play with that to get it the way you want. And again, Command-T, right-click on it, flip horizontally, and then hold down Shift and get that car the size you want. And that's a little bit softer around your tires. Okay, Command-0 or Control-0 on a PC will get a fit to screen. So anytime you can't, if you zoomed in too far, you know, you got here, and then you want to get out really quick, just hit Command-0. And it's fit to screen. Of course, you go to View and fit to screen, but you know. And then move tool. If the car's down here, it looks more proper. Okay, I'll put it down here. Cool. Still looks like it's floating. We got to put a little bit of shadow underneath it. So I'm going to I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to duplicate this layer. So right click on it and duplicate it. So you've got two cars. And I'm going to take this bottom car here. Now turn off the eyeball here just for a moment. Select this one. I'm going to hit Effects and I'm going to hit Drop Shadow. And I'm going to drop shadow underneath this car, straight underneath, because that's where the light would be coming from. Okay, and then I'm going to spread it so it's a little bit softer there, so the car looks like it's got some shadow underneath. But it's got shadow underneath the tires, everything. I just need shadow right underneath this part of the car here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get normal here. Okay, what I'm going to do is just hit OK, and then I'm going to go in and turn this one back on. But I'm going to erase some of this car. Well, I'll go back to this and show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to take my eraser. I'm going to erase some of this car here, which will erase a lot of that shadow. Now, I still got shadow there, but watch. I'll turn this top one back on. And as I erase the bottom one, oops, I'm in the wrong layer, this one here. As I erase, I can have the shadow coming just from the other, this picture here. The shadow's coming from here, but here's the car that you're seeing on top. So I'm going to go erase a lot of this and just put a little bit straight underneath the car there so it looks real. And there's lots of ways to make a shadow, maybe better than I'm doing here, but this is a quick way that I can think of real fast to throw some shadow underneath that car. So it looks like the light's coming straight down, which it would be with ambient light there. I'm just going to do a little erasing so we've got a little bit of shadow coming from this car, just a little bit. Okay. And then you see this white from my clip, okay? Is that white there? That's not looking very good there. So I've got to take some of this out. So basically to do that, I would just go in and, wow, it might be a little bit difficult the way I've done it here, but to erase this, I take the top car here, take my eraser, and then just, oops, erase the bottom of that vehicle. More here. So what I'm erasing is that cut there, and you can see the other car down below, so I'm going to have to do a little bit of detail on that. I'll show you in a second. But I'm just erasing my car here where I've got that clip. I must not have done a very good job when I did my mask. That's okay. And then this car underneath here, all I need to do is just erase it too. A little bit right there, and then over here a little bit, just so, yeah, looks a lot better. Command 0. Okay, so I've got this car there. I could, again, move this car. Now I've got to keep these two together, so I hold down Command and click on both. Okay, so if you want to get two of your layers and held together, hold down Command and get the other one, or you can also hold down Shift and do the same thing. And then you could right-click on one of them and link these two together. Sorry, it's off the screen a little bit there, but I linked it together. So now if I go to the Move tool, everything's moved, my shadow and everything. Okay, and you can say, okay, huge car, toy car, you know, maybe just about right. All right. So that's how to take a photo and put it onto another photograph. You could place many more things, people walking down the street. Just make sure your lighting's going the right way and your perspective. Again, don't have this down here. It looks like this massive, huge car. Like, wow, big, huge sedan or toy car down here. Okay, so you just want to try to find about the right distance. And good. So have fun making a photo montage.